other reason why I'm here is because thousands of my constituents back in Miami are terrified when the courts in this country are used as weapons to crush our political enemies. Donald Trump is not the only one going through trial. We all are.
That's Florida Congresswoman María Salazar, one of the dozens of lawmakers who came to New York to show support for Donald Trump ahead of his trial as it enters its final stages. She sits on the House Foreign Affairs and Small Business Committees. What is it, Congresswoman, that made you decide to come up to New York and make that statement?
Thank you for having me. Exactly for what I said. I represent the city of Miami, heart of the Cuban exile community or the Venezuelans, and we have seen what's happening in New York before. Political trials happen in banana republics, not in the United States of America. And I said before that clip that regardless what you think of Donald Trump, what you think about him, what you feel about him, whether you're going to vote for him or not, it's good for us to tell you that what's happening in New York City, it's not what's happening, is not part of the American system. The judicial system is revered as part of our American agenda. And look what's happening. It's being used to crush one of your political opponents. Not here, not in the United States.
Well, now that genie is out of the bottle, I mean, if former President Trump were to be reelected, one can easily imagine the same kind of lawfare, if you will, being inflicted on his political enemies.
Well, not really. And that's not what we're expecting from any government or any administration. We have to preserve the Anglo-American agenda. We have to preserve the American exceptionality. And that is why we are here. And that's why I'm saying we in this community, we know very well what's happening in this country. It's impossible. Let me just give you 3 pieces of info so you'll see that what's happening in New York is inconceivable. It's impossible to bring anyone to trial if you don't have the charges clearly defined, A. B, there are no audio recordings or television cameras inside the courtroom. Why? Those 2 things are very suspicious. The fact that 6 years ago, the federal prosecutors did not want to touch this case, and then now state prosecutors believe that it's good time to be putting Trump on trial because we have 5, or there are 5. We're going to have elections in 5 months from now. It's all very suspicious. And I go back. We cannot destroy what we have, regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat. We're all Americans, and we love the system. So let's preserve it.
You talked about Venezuelans and Cubans whom you represent in great numbers in Miami. We have a lot of people coming across the southern border right now. Chuck Schumer reintroduced the border security bill in the Senate. It died again, but he says it's the Republicans' fault because Republicans want to make it a political issue. What's your response?
What is the evidence once again? President Biden has been in the White House for 3.5 years. For 3.5 years, we've had open borders. We have 8 million people who have come into this country. Those are facts. 2 million gotaways. You look at the border, you see that if you talk to the Border Patrol, they are overwhelmed. It's the first time in the history of this country that an administration, whether it's Republican or Democrat, has allowed for this chaos to occur. And now the Democrats, like Mr. Schumer, he brings up this bill that he knows very well that is not going to pass, and is just a little Band-Aid on a very big wound. President Biden has decided to go to the southern border. It's the worst thing, and I'm talking to my fellow Hispanics, the largest minority in the country, the most important minority in this country, is that what Biden has done to the Hispanics by allowing that border to be opened is the worst thing that he could have done to our community in the last 50 years. You know why? Because the subject of immigration that we need to fix, both parties need to come down, sit down, and fix immigration, has been poisoned. That word is poisoned because we have to first look at the border. We got to seal the border so we can put some order. You see, so it's the worst thing that could have happened, and that's why I'm so distraught. Because their immigration needs to be talked about, but not right now. Because look at what's happening at the border.
The president's
that's the problem with politics in D.C., and that's why Americans have lost some faith in it.
The president's spokeswoman says it's not his fault. Listen.
Why should he have to do it unilaterally? Why should we do it in a legislative way? And let's not forget, that negotiated...
Election
I
before
know,
to
but-
undo some of...
Wait, so you're right, he took many executive actions before. But in order to deal with what's happening at the border, in order to deal with a broken immigration system, you need law. You need legislation. You need it to happen in a bipartisan way.
We have just about 15 seconds for you to respond to Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah, we, Congress, Maria Salazar, presented the only immigration reform bill that is right now in Congress. The Democrats did not even look at it.
Congresswoman Maria Salazar, thanks for coming on tonight.
My pleasure.